And then that would bump it up to 115 towns with their surrounding villages. And in some cases, settlements. Sounds like a lot of towns to me. And that was just what was allotted to Judah. What's up, cool people? My name's Matt. Welcome back to our Bible study. Okay, so we're looking at Joshua 15 right now. And at this point in the story, a lot of the Promised Land has been conquered by the Israelites, and they're starting to split up the land amongst the tribes of Israel. Some of it east of the Jordan was already sort of allotted to different tribes and whatnot. I think we've gone past that already, and we're starting to look at the divisions west of the Jordan, which was, their most recent conquests, and perhaps land that still has yet to be conquered. But yeah, that I think is pretty much all you need to know as far as context for this. So here we go. Joshua 15. The allotment for the clans of the tribe of Judah reached southward to the border of Edom, as far south as the wilderness of Zin. The southern boundary began at the south bay of the Dead Sea, ran south of Scorpion Pass into the wilderness of Zin, and then went south of Kadesh Barnea to Hezron. Then it went up to Adar, where it turned toward Karka. From there it passed to Asmon until it finally reached the Brook of Egypt, which it followed to the Mediterranean Sea. This was their southern boundary. Okay. It seems to be just delineating boundaries here, not like I have any particular insights related to that. But so, Dead Sea, I guess. So it says it began at the south bay of the Dead Sea. So, southern point of the Dead Sea, go from there further south, basically getting down to the border of Egypt. And also connecting, presumably, on the west with the Mediterranean Sea. Footnotes, though. Dead Sea, Hebrew says the Salt Sea. That was really just what they called it back then, because it's a very salty sea. And Hebrew naming conventions were super literal. Scorpion Pass, Hebrew just says Akrabim, which might be roughly translated Scorpion Pass, or not. I don't know. That was just the name for it. I don't know of any particular region that's currently known as Scorpion Pass, but maybe that's just a lack of geography knowledge on my part. Mediterranean Sea might have just been called the sea in Hebrew, because, it was by far the biggest sea that they would have known of. I almost said known as. Brain. But yeah. So it would have just been called the sea because that was the big sea that they knew of. And Hebrew says you're there instead of there. This was your southern boundary. So the your, it's assumed would have been referring to whoever the original readers/listeners were, which, if it extended all the way down to Egypt, that would have been the southernmost boundary of the entirety of Israel anyway. So, it makes some sense with that wording as well. Verse 5. The eastern boundary, this is still for Judah and their allotment of land. The eastern boundary extended along the Dead Sea to the mouth of the Jordan River. The northern boundary began at the bay where the Jordan River empties into the Dead Sea, went up from there to Beth Hogla, then proceeded north of Beth Araba to the Stone of Bohan. Bohan was Reuben's son. From that point, it went through the valley of Achor to Debir, turning north toward Gilgal, which is across from the slopes of Adumim on the south side of the valley. From there, the boundary extended to the springs at En Shemesh and on to En Rogel. The boundary then passed through the valley of Ben Hinnom along the southern slopes of the Jebusites, where the city of Jerusalem is located. Then it went west to the top of the mountain above the valley of Hinnom and on up to the northern end of the valley of Rephaim. From there, the boundary extended from the top of the mountain to the spring at the waters of Nephtoah, and from there to the towns on Mount Ephron. Then it turned toward Bala, that is Kiriath Jearim. The boundary circled west of Bala to Mount Seir, passed along to the town of Kesalon on the northern slope of Mount Jearim, and went down to Beth Shemesh and on to Timnah. The boundary then proceeded to the slope of the hill north of Ekron, where it turned toward Shikaron and Mount Bala. It passed Jabneel and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. The western boundary was the shoreline of the Mediterranean Sea. Pretty simple there. These are the boundaries for the clans of the tribe of Judah. Okay. I guess the northern boundary was a lot more like rough, jagged, complex than the other boundaries. I don't really have any other thoughts in particular. It's just, that's the reason why this all describes the northern boundary and took so much longer to explain than any of the other boundaries for Judah's land allotment. Footnote at Nephtoah says, or the spring at Me Nephtoah, rather than spring at the waters of. Okay. And let's see here, that was E, footnote there. Hebrew then says the Great Sea for the Mediterranean instead of just the sea. So, especially with it being referred to as the Great Sea, again, the Mediterranean would have been the biggest one that they knew of. So, definitely referring to it as the Great Sea makes sense. And sometimes I think they would have just called it the sea, almost like we would just say the ocean. It's, depending on where you are, it's sort of assumed that when you say the ocean, oh, yeah, you're from Pennsylvania. You say the ocean, that probably means the Atlantic Ocean. Or, oh, you're from California. You say the ocean, you probably mean the Pacific Ocean. All right, verse 13. The Lord commanded Joshua to assign some of Judah's territory to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. So Caleb was given the town of Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, which had been named after Anak's ancestor. Caleb drove out the three groups of Anakites, the descendants of Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai, the sons of Anak. From there, he went to fight against the people living in the town of Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the one who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer. Othniel, son of Caleb's brother Kenaz, was the one who conquered it, so Aksa became Othniel's wife. When Aksa married Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. As she got down off her donkey, Caleb asked her, What's the matter? She said, Give me another gift. You have already given me land in the Negev. Now please give me springs of water, too. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. Okay. So Caleb, trying to remember, it mentioned Caleb before, which has me thinking, if I remember right, he was actually, well, no, because he wasn't a Levite. I was going to say, maybe he was from the tribe of Levi, but he wasn't a Levite. Otherwise, he would have had, like, temple duties and whatnot, rather than be a fighting type of person. So, okay, maybe I'm wrong about that. Scratch that thought. So, I mean, if Caleb was from the tribe of Judah, maybe it would have just been, hey, let's specifically have part of Judah's territory goes to Caleb, like, just to him in particular. And if the land that he was promised in the first place was within the boundaries of what was given to Judah, then that, I don't know, that just kind of makes sense to me anyway. Because he was promised that land before any of it got divided up. Before any of it was even conquered, really. So he drove out all the people that were living there, which, again, Anakites were, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, thought they were like giants of a sort. So imagine a whole society of Goliaths. That's who he would have driven out. And then, I guess as motivation for conquering a certain town, he said, all right, whoever conquers this gets my daughter in marriage. So yeah, that happened. What's the footnote there? Some Greek manuscripts read, he urged her. But there's more than just Greek manuscripts being considered in translations and such. So, but if it reads, he urged her to ask for a field, that might be a little more consistent, actually, with what happens then, because she ends up being the one who asks him. Because otherwise, she urged Othniel, and then maybe Othniel didn't follow up on it, so she took it into her own hands. But if he was the one who urged her, then it was more of a, alright, she was just following up on his request. Moving on to verse 20. Okay. Not quite sure how I'll divide this up. We'll just see how it feels. Anyway, verse 20. This is the homeland allocated to the clans of the tribe of Judah. So maybe it's going to break down the specifics of which clan got which part. The towns of Judah situated along the borders of Edom in the extreme south were Kabzeel, Eder, Jager, or Yager? I don't know. Because I know J has been pronounced more like a Y in other contexts. Anyway. Kinna, Demona, Adada, or Adada, I don't know. Kedesh, Hazor, Ithnan, Ziph, Telem, Bealoth, Hazor, Hadath, Kerioth, Hezron, that is Hazor. Okay, but there was already a Hazor, which is probably why they gave it a different name. Anyway. Emam, Shema, Molada, Hazar Gada, Heshmon, Beth Pelet, Hazar Shual, Beersheba, Biziothia? That's a lot of vowels in there. Bela, Ayim? Because that's a capital I there. It's got to be. Anyway. Ezem, Eltolad, Kessel, Horma, Ziklag, Madmana, Sansana, Lebeoth, Shilhim, Ain, and Rimon. 29 towns with their surrounding villages. Good grief, that was a mouthful. So those were just the towns along the southern border. Well, it says along the borders of Edom in the extreme south. But that's not like all the way south to like where it connected with Egypt, or was it? I don't know. Not familiar with exactly where Edom would have been relative to all that. So that was like southern stuff, and I think subsequent sections are going to break down kind of other areas of the land that was allotted to Judah, and just saying, all right, here's the different towns that were in these areas. And it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of these towns wound up being named according to the clans that lived in them. I'm not going to say that's confirmed, but, like, it seems like a very Israel thing to do. At least Israel of that time. Verse 33. The following towns situated in the western foothills were also given to Judah: Eshtaol, Zorah, Ashna, Zenoah, Enganim, Tapua, Enam, Jarmuth, Adullam, Soko, Azekah, Sherim, Adithaim, Gedera, and Gederothaim. 14 towns with their surrounding villages, as opposed to the 29 that were more along the south. Footnote there at foothills, Hebrews says the Shephelah instead of the western foothills. Verse 37, also included were Zenan, I don't know, Hadashah, Migdal Gad, Dilian, Mizpeh, Joktheel, Lachish, Bozkath, Eglon, Kabon, Lamam, Kitlish, Gederoth, Beth Dagon, Nema, and Makkedah, 16 towns with their surrounding villages. It just says also included. Were those also included? I mean, those were the towns that were included within the boundaries of Judah, obviously, but it's like, it doesn't really give directionality to any of those. But whatever. So let's see here. 16 plus 14 is 30. We're at a total of 59 now. Verse 42. Besides these, there were Libnah, Ether, Ashan, Iftah, Ashna, Nezib, Kila, Akzib, and Marishah. 9 towns with their surrounding villages. So that puts it at 68 in total. Moving along to verse 45, I'm pretty sure is where we left off. The territory of the tribe of Judah also included, as if all the previous stuff wasn't enough, also included Ekron and its surrounding settlements and villages. From Ekron, the boundary extended west and included the towns near Ashdod with their surrounding villages. It also included Ashdod with its surrounding settlements and villages, and Gaza with its settlements and villages, as far as the Brook of Egypt and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. See, now with those being included like that and mentioned specifically, especially with Ashdod, it's like, okay, the boundary included that, and then I guess, I don't know, since it's mentioning surrounding settlements and villages with these towns, I guess, whereas the previous ones it was just also surrounding villages, not settlements. I guess these were some of the larger towns within Judah's territory. But anyway, that's just kind of an educated guess because of it including more surrounding stuff with each of those. Verse 48. Judah also received the following towns in the hill country: Shamir, Jatir, Soko, Dana, Kiriath Sana, that is Debir, Anab, Eshtemo, I almost said Eshtemoth. Anyway, Anim, Goshen, Holon, and Gilo or Gilo. 11 towns with their surrounding villages. The hill country, I'm pretty sure was supposed to be... I thought that was supposed to be to the west, but it mentions western foothills up here, so maybe not. I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. I'm not that familiar with geography, especially what the geography would have been around that time. 52... Also included were the towns of Arab, Duma, Eshen, Jenim, Beth Tapua, Afika, Humta, Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, and Zior, 9 towns with their surrounding villages. Besides these, there were Maon, Carmel, Ziph, Jutta. Wasn't Jutta mentioned earlier? I don't know. Jezreel, Jokdeam, Zanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timnah. 10 towns with their surrounding villages. There's so many, besides these, in addition, also, couldn't you just... I'm a little curious why it's delineating these different groups from each other and feels the need to separate them. Maybe that has something to do with the geography that I'm not aware of, or each separation, each paragraph or whatever here, might have gone to a different clan. That's also a possibility. Especially if the towns weren't named after the clans. That actually seems like a pretty reasonable explanation for the way that it's divided up here. Verse 58. In addition, there were Halhol, Beth-Zur, Gedor, Merath, Beth-Anoth, and Eltikon, 6 towns with their surrounding villages. There were also Kiriath Baal, that is Kiriath Jearim, and Rabbah, 2 towns with their surrounding villages. In the wilderness, there were the towns of Beth Araba, Midin, Sekaka, Nibshan, the city of Salt, and En-Gedi, 6 towns with their surrounding villages. But the tribe of Judah could not drive out the Jebusites who lived in the city of Jerusalem, so the Jebusites lived there among the people of Judah to this day. Alright, so assuming these were all actually different towns in these different sections here, as it's broken up, and first off, if it is divided by clan, that would have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different clans within the tribe of Judah. And the total number of towns with surrounding villages and such would have been, let's see here, math time, 6, 8, 14, 24, 33, 44, plus these 3, so 47. 56. See, 72. 86. And then that would bump it up to 115 towns with their surrounding villages. And in some cases, settlements. Yeah. Sounds like a lot of towns to me. And that was just what was allotted to Judah. Never mind all the other tribes. But, I mean, you know, you get down to the level of individual towns, and yeah, of course, there's going to be a lot. I mean, I could drive within like a 20-minute radius of where I am and probably come across like 20 different towns. I mean, you've got the one where I'm in. There's at least a couple over, I'm not sure whether that's west or east, but whatever. Like, I can think of at least a couple just off the top of my head in each direction. But anyway, okay, enough about that. I guess that's all for chapter 15. Alright, so, yeah, all that I'm pretty sure was just about the tribe of Judah and the land that they were allotted. But yeah, there's probably going to be a few chapters like this following, just talking more about the divisions of land and whatnot. But it's one of those things where, at least, you know, for the original readers, it probably held some greater significance. Plus, I mean, I'm sure in some way, well, I guess that already went over the entire territory of Israel, at least what it was supposed to eventually have after the entire conquest. But anyway, noting the boundaries and stuff, I guess it could have also been helpful in the same way that even nowadays knowing any boundaries of any, like, towns, states, other things like that is helpful to anybody. Maybe not in quite as many ways, because now, you know, we've got, like, addresses, postal services, zip codes, different things like that are tied to such things. But anyway, I digress. So, yeah, that's going to do it for now. As always, like and share if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell if you're on YouTube to get updates when I post new videos. If you're seeing this over on Rumble, feel free to give me a follow there. Whichever platform you're watching on, look down in the description to get info on other social media pages and all that good stuff. And leave comments down below there with any thoughts you have. So that'll do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you soon for another video. But whatever the case is, till next time, stay cool, people.